Have you ever met someone whose gaze seemed to pierce right through you, so intense, so immediate, that it almost felt otherworldly? As if, in that moment, they weren't just seeing your face, your smile, or your words, but something far greater, something sacred? It's as though they'd stumbled upon a long-lost treasure they didn't even know they were searching for, the kind of connection that feels like it could only be written by fate. But what if that powerful pull wasn't actually about you? Carl Jung had a different take on this kind of overwhelming affection. He would say, they weren't falling in love with you. They were falling in love with the part of themselves that you made visible. This idea shatters the illusions many of us hold about love. This video isn't about tricks or surface-level chemistry. It's about something more elusive, more hidden, something built deep within the psyche, the unconscious architecture of attraction. According to Jung, people fall in love with you not because of your looks, your wit, or even your personality. Those qualities may play a role on the surface, but beneath that, the real reason is far more profound. People are drawn to you because you either mirror a part of themselves they've lost, or you activate a forgotten potential within them. Let's unpack that. Most of us are taught to believe that love is a spontaneous, unpredictable magic, a sudden spark between souls. But Jung didn't agree. He believed love, especially the kind that strikes quickly and irrationally, isn't random at all. It's designed. It's structured by the unconscious mind, constructed from unmet needs, suppressed emotions, and ancient inner archetypes. So when someone is inexplicably pulled toward you, what they're truly reacting to isn't your presence, it's their own projection onto you. Jung called this the principle of projection. Each of us carries within us parts of ourselves that we've hidden, denied, or left behind. Traits we weren't allowed to express, dreams we buried, aspects we never gave permission to grow. These parts don't disappear, they wait. And then, one day, they recognize you. In you, they see something they've been missing, something they deeply crave but couldn't name. You become a reflection of their inner world, the version of themselves they wish they could reclaim. Picture this, someone who's always been emotionally distant, restrained, careful. Suddenly they meet someone who's vibrant, expressive, and emotionally open. They're not just intrigued, they're enchanted. Not because that person is simply appealing, but because that person is embodying a version of themselves they've never dared to live. That's the heart of it. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. You don't merely interest them. You symbolize a path they didn't take, a life they might have lived, and that makes the connection feel profound, like destiny unfolding right before them. This is the first reason people fall in love with you. You reflect something they believe is missing in their lives. It could be your boldness, your calmness, your chaos, your discipline, your warmth, or your wild freedom. Whatever it is, it plugs into a blank space within them, often one that's been empty for years. That emotional resonance? It doesn't feel random. It feels cosmic. As if the universe aligned perfectly just to bring you together. But that's where it starts to get complicated. Because if they never realize that what they're seeing in you is actually a reflection of their own needs or lost parts, they'll mistake you for the answer. That's where the illusion quietly begins. Let's continue. Because now, we're entering deeper, more fragile territory. When someone falls in love with a part of themselves through you, they're not truly falling in love with you. They're falling in love with a symbol, a projection, a vessel that carries their buried dreams, their pain, their hunger to heal. And while that can feel flattering, being seen, cherished, idolized, it doesn't take long before the weight of that image becomes too heavy. You start to feel boxed in, like you're expected to be someone specific, to act a certain way. Not because of who you are, but because of what you represent to them. At some point, a quiet thought slips into your mind. They don't really know me. They know the version of themselves I somehow unlocked. And that realization can be heartbreaking. Because now, you're not just a person. You've become a mirror, a key, a symbol of someone else's healing process, a placeholder for a journey they haven't fully taken. This is where many relationships begin to fray. The illusion begins to crack. And the moment you stop reflecting the light they need, they don't just feel disappointed. They feel betrayed. Not because you changed, but because the fantasy they built around you starts to dissolve. Carl Jung warned us about this danger. He believed that love born in the unconscious, love that's blind to reality, is always at risk of disillusionment, because it's not built on the full truth. It's built on inner hunger, wearing someone else's face. So what's the second reason people fall in love with you? It's rarer, it's deeper, and it's far more enduring. You awaken something inside them. You don't just fill a gap, you light a fire. You're not merely patching up someone's emptiness or soothing a wound. You're igniting something powerful within them. It's not about what they lacked or some piece of their identity that went missing. It's about what they never even knew was possible. You awaken a new realm inside them, a richer, bolder, more expansive version of who they could be. You activate a higher version of their potential. Without even trying, you inspire them to reach further, think deeper, and feel more freely. You make them dream in ways they may have long forgotten, or worse, never dared to explore. You challenge the version of themselves they once settled for, gently, or sometimes forcefully, pushing them into growth. This kind of love doesn't explode with intensity at the beginning. It doesn't burn fast and fade. Instead, it unfolds slowly, quietly, steadily. But because it grows from within, not from illusion, it lasts. It doesn't cling or demand. It expands and breathes. Why? Because it's not born out of projection. It's born out of transformation. In Jungian psychology, this profound evolution marks the shift from projection to individuation. In the beginning, we often see the other person as something we are missing, a puzzle piece, a cure, a solution. But later, if we have the self-awareness to look beyond the illusion, we realize the truth. The other isn't our missing half. They are a mirror, a reflection, an invitation to grow into our full, authentic self. And that shift, that is when love becomes real. Not dependency, not infatuation, but two complete souls walking beside each other, seeing not just what's broken, but what's possible. Yet here lies the difficult truth. Most people never make that shift. They stay trapped in the early stages, clinging to projections, believing in fantasies, loving the mirror, but fearing what's behind it. And when you stop acting like the character they unknowingly cast you to play, they fall out of love. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you changed, but because you no longer fit the role in the story they wrote without your consent. Now, let's go deeper into a part of the psyche most people avoid. Because here's something few want to admit. Sometimes, people fall in love with you not out of connection, but out of avoidance. They're not running to you. They're running from themselves. And you became their hiding place. In their eyes, your presence becomes a form of relief, your confidence, your brightness, your energy. They cling to it not because they truly see you, but because it distracts them from confronting their own discomfort, their own emptiness, their own shadows. This is why some forms of love feel so heavy, so possessive, so urgent. It's not really love, at least not the healthy, freeing kind. It's an escape plan, a temporary fix to avoid looking inward. Carl Jung warned us of this in his work on shadow psychology. He believed that when people refuse to face their repressed wounds, they unconsciously search for someone else to carry the weight. You then become the emotional container, the therapist, the safe harbor for storms that aren't even yours. But here's the danger. Once they project that pain onto you, you become responsible for fixing something you never broke. And if you draw a boundary, if you dare to choose your own healing path or simply step away, they don't thank you for it. Instead, you become the villain. Not because you did harm, but because you refused to keep playing the unconscious role they had assigned to you without your awareness. This is why so many intense, passionate love stories eventually crash, not because they weren't real, but because they weren't rooted in reality. They were built on longing, on fantasy, on unresolved inner work that no partner could ever complete for them. But here's the beauty, buried within that shadow. You're not powerless in this, you have a choice. You get to decide what kind of love you allow into your life. You get to ask the hard but necessary questions. Am I being loved for who I truly am, or for what I represent? Am I actually seen, or merely projected onto? Does this connection expand me, or slowly exhaust me? These questions are not cynical, they are sacred. They aren't meant to cast doubt on love or dismiss its beauty. Instead, they open a doorway to a deeper truth, because the kind of love that truly lasts, the kind that elevates both people, doesn't arise from chance or intensity alone. It only emerges when both souls make a conscious choice, the choice to awaken, to stay present, and to become aware of themselves and each other in full truth. So, what does conscious love actually look like? It's not frantic. It doesn't sweep you away in a rush of fantasy or euphoric highs. No, it's slower, more grounded, more rooted in reality than illusion. It may not sparkle at first, but it deepens over time. It says, I won't try to fill your emptiness, but I'll walk beside you as you explore it. I don't need you to be my missing piece. I only want to stand beside you as your whole self. I see you, not my idealized version of you. And still, I choose you. That kind of love, it's rare, but it is possible, and it begins the moment projection ends. Now let's flip the mirror. We've spent time understanding how others project onto you, but let's be honest, you do it too. We all do. It's part of being human. Think back. Have you ever met someone and felt, they just get me? It's like I've known them forever. They complete me. They're everything I've been waiting for. But were they really? Or were they simply carrying your hopes, your hidden desires, your unlived potential? Carl Jung reminds us with piercing clarity, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So maybe that overwhelming love you felt wasn't about them at all. Maybe it was about you, about the part of yourself that longed to come alive and saw a flicker of it reflected in someone else. And when they didn't live up to that image, when reality shattered your ideal, it wasn't their failure, it was the falling away of your own projection, the breaking of an illusion. That ache, that disappointment, it was the pain of watching your own expectations dissolve. But here's what matters most. This doesn't make you broken. It doesn't make you foolish. It makes you human. Projection is not weakness, it's how the psyche seeks healing. We see in others the very pieces of ourselves we haven't yet accepted. We fall in love not just with them, but with our own unclaimed potential. Yet here's where the real turning point lies. Once you realize what you've been projecting, you no longer have to chase it outside of yourself. You can become it. You no longer need someone else to be strong, mysterious, nurturing, wild, grounded, ambitious, or free, because you now understand you can embody those traits. You can cultivate them from within. You can integrate what you once idolized. That's what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, not through love, not after love, but before love. And when you do that, when you step into your fullness, everything begins to change. You stop falling for illusions. You stop seeking people to save you. You start attracting those who see you, who reflect your truth, not your wounds. You no longer need someone to complete you because you're no longer aching for a missing part. You just want someone to witness your wholeness, to walk beside you, not to rescue you, but to recognize you. That kind of connection doesn't come from craving. It comes from clarity. It's not born of longing. It's born of readiness. That's why Jung's work remains so powerful and so timeless. He wasn't trying to romanticize love. He wasn't selling a fantasy. He was giving us the tools to stop confusing projection for destiny. And once we do that, once we awaken to our unconscious patterns, we stop handing other people our light. We learn to shine it for ourselves. So here we are, full circle. We began with a question: why do people fall in love with you? And Jung's answer isn't the one the movies tell. It's not because you're perfect, not because of chemistry or timing. It's because you either reflect something someone has lost or awaken something they've never seen before. That's the truth so many people miss. Not because it isn't there, but because it's not glamorous. It's not easy. It's not convenient. But it's real. So what do we do with that kind of truth? First, we learn to hold love more gently. We stop gripping every intense connection like it's written in the stars. We start asking better questions. What part of me is being reflected here? What part of them am I seeing? Is this love or is this projection? Am I truly connecting or am I escaping? And then we go inward. We do the work. We begin the process of reclaiming what we've been chasing in others. We embody the very qualities we once idolized. We stop chasing after mirrors and start becoming the light. Because real love doesn't have to roar to be powerful. Sometimes, the most transformative love stories are the quiet ones. The ones that unfold slowly, consciously, intentionally. The ones that don't begin with fantasy but with presence. With two souls who see each other clearly. Who hold space, not illusion. Who fall in love, not with what's missing, but with what's real. So the next time someone falls for you, ask yourself, is this truly about me, or about the part of them I've unknowingly awakened? And the next time you feel yourself falling for someone else, pause, look closer. Because behind every intense connection is a message from your unconscious. And behind that message is the person you are slowly becoming. This is the soul of a scientist, where love is not just emotion, but a portal into transformation. Think deeply, love consciously, become who you once needed, and never confuse projection for truth. If this message spoke to something inside you, consider sharing it with someone you've loved deeply, even if only for a moment. Until next time, stay inward, stay aware.